You think you're making choices, but what if it's the symbols that are choosing you? We live in a world made of forms, words, images, ideas, but what truly governs reality cannot be seen directly. It hides behind the curtains of the rational mind. They are invisible forces, eternal patterns, mirrors of the soul. These forces have a name, archetypes, and their language is symbolic. Those who understand this language gain access to a secret code, a power that spans millennia, and today you will learn how to activate it in your own life. Imagine an invisible, silent ocean, so vast that no single mind could ever contain it. A psychic sea that pulses beyond time, beyond culture, beyond language. It is there that the great symbols of humanity float, living images as ancient as consciousness itself. Carl Jung called this deep sea the collective unconscious. It is not merely a metaphor. It is a real, psychic archetypal field where universal forms manifest. No matter where you were born, even in what century you live, you recognize the hero, the villain, the stern father, the nurturing mother, the wise sage upon the mountain. Even if you've never heard the stories, you feel them. Because archetypes are not ideas, they are living forces, energetic structures shaping emotions, choices, and destinies. An archetype is like the spiritual hologram, an invisible matrix imprinting behavior onto the human soul. They stand behind mythologies, religions, works of art, and dreams, but they also live within you. Yes, they dwell in your unconscious. They influence your choices, your fears, your desires, long before your rational mind begins to think. The shadow, for example, is everything you repress, deny, or hide from yourself. The hero is that surge of resilience when everything seems lost. The great mother can appear as nurturing protection or as suffocating possession. And the magician? The magician pierces the veils of matter and transforms reality through consciousness. These forms are as ancient as the gods, and perhaps they are the gods, translated into psychological language. At the core, archetypes are portals between the human and the divine, symbolic keys that reveal the hidden stairways of the soul. When you recognize the archetypes active in your life, you cease being a puppet of destiny and begin writing your own myth. You become the author of the journey. So, the next time a pattern repeats itself, the next time the same type of person appears in different faces, stop and ask, which archetype is speaking to me? Because to understand archetypes is to begin conversing with the secret language of the universe. Since childhood, you have been influenced by archetypes, but no one ever told you. When you felt safe, you touched the universal mother. When you faced challenges, the hero awakened within. When you sabotaged yourself, the shadow was whispering. And in moments of sudden clarity, intuition, or wisdom, the magician touched your mind. You don't need to believe it, because archetypes do not belong to logic. They manifest in emotions, symbols, dreams, decisions. What archetypes use to speak are not words, they are symbols. Symbols do not explain, they reveal. They are not logical, they are intuitive. They speak directly to what within you has never forgotten. A cross, a spiral, a triangle, a serpent. At first glance, they seem like mere shapes or simple figures, but to the unconscious, They are portals of psychic power. Every symbol is a key. Every form carries a vibration that touches layers the rational mind cannot reach. You may not understand them with words, but the symbol enters, vibrates, activates, and something within you recognizes it. That is why religions are built upon symbols, why rituals employ symbolic objects, why ancient masters would draw before they would speak. In mystery schools, every step is marked by a symbol. They are not placed there for aesthetics. They exist to awaken states of consciousness, because a symbol does not inform, it transforms. And don't think this belongs only to the occult. Advertising, politics, films, logos, all of these exploit the power of symbols. The difference is this: while initiatic schools use them to free the mind, the system uses them to control it. When you see a circle with an arrow, you think of action. When you see a lion, you feel strength. When you see a serpent, something primal stirs inside you, and this happens without your awareness. That is why the symbol is the language of the soul. It doesn't persuade, it awakens. He who learns to read the symbols of the world begins to understand what lies behind visible reality. He begins to perceive hidden messages in every color, number, shape, and sound. And more than that, he begins to use symbols as magical instruments, creating realities through visualized intention. Symbolism is a bridge between the visible and the invisible, between what appears and what truly is. Because in the end, everything real is symbolic. The great key is not to know about archetypes, it is to live in harmony with them. You can invoke archetypes as inner forces to shift your vibration, your behavior, and your destiny. Lost in confusion? Call upon the sage. Connect with silence, meditation, ancient books, and inner masters. Need action? Awaken the hero. Challenge your limits. Face your fears. Move forward with courage. Seeking the spiritual path? Invoke the magician or the high priestess. Create rituals, visualize symbols, and align your energy with the unseen. Struggling with inner sabotage? Confront the shadow. Look upon your traumas, guilt, and anger with compassion and light. Longing for stability and nourishment? Awaken the great mother or protective father. Care for your body, your home, your relationships with presence and love. Every symbolic act strengthens the archetype within you. You become the channel. You cease being ruled by unconscious patterns and begin consciously choosing which forces to embody. Now pause and ask yourself, which archetype is ruling my life at this very moment? Which one is asleep, waiting to be awakened? The external world is nothing but a stage where archetypes dance, with or without your permission. But you can take up the magician's staff. You can use symbols as mirrors and shape your reality from within. Because when you master archetypes, you stop being a character and become the author of your destiny.